session is about the one thing that can absolutely revolutionize your soloing skills in record time. It's the thing you must focus on if you want to get to the top level of soloing in the fastest way possible. And it's really rapid. In 6 months, you can go from sounding like a complete amateur to sounding like a complete pro. Blech, can't talk today. If you focus on this area, I promise you. And so what is it? What is this magical thing that you could focus on? It's rhythm. I'm sorry, it sounds boring. But that's why most people don't focus that much on it. But just think about it. The equation, the soloing equation, what does that consist of? Well, it's basically just rhythm and it's notes, right? And phrasing and all kinds of little details that really makes life worth living. But if you look at what you're doing, you're basically combining rhythms with notes. That's what you do. But most people don't focus that much on rhythm. And you really need to. And if you do, you will absolutely change the way you sound because it is the reason for so many challenges. You know, why can't you seem to end your lines in a proper way, right? You play licks, but you have to kind of put those licks into music. So why do you keep stumbling? Why can't you play a decent run without having to, fumble around in the beginning or the ending? Because you can't seem to get back into the music. Why can't you put licks together or notes or lines? It's rhythm. All those problems all come from the same challenge. Because if you absolutely master rhythm, then you can totally put lines together and you can play just a couple of notes with, It's basically a guitar solo. It's basically a drum solo where we have 12 different drums. And then you go ba-do, ba-do, do, da-ba-dee-boo, ba-ba, da-ba-dee-doo, da-ba-ba-dee-doo. But if you can't tap your foot as you're playing all those different rhythms, then you're lost. And that's how you mess up a drum solo. That's why drummers feel the same problem you do sometimes, or we do, is that they stumble. It's like, if you kind of da ba da da ba da 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 ba do 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 ba da 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 do ba do da 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 do 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 do. As soon as you can't clap or tap your foot, you're basically tumbling around and you don't have any connection with the music. So how do you learn rhythm? Well, you can go download this jam track by clicking the link below this video. And this is a little training session. And you have basically 2 ways of learning rhythm, and I recommend you do both. You can learn it from the bottom up and say, okay, let's learn to clap or play quarter notes, right? And quarter notes are basically your foot tapping. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your foot, right? And then you can learn to clap as you have your foot. And then you can do eighth notes, which is basically just the upstrokes, or when you take your foot up. So you go down, up, foot, 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 foot. So it's twice as many strokes. Then we have triplets. Then we put 3 little strokes in between each tap with the foot. Da, 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 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All these things are, you take the simplest rhythm and then you move your way up. That's the one. So yes, mathematical way of learning it, because rhythm is math, basically. And then there's the second, and that's like learning licks. Instead of learning scales and learning sequences, you can learn licks, and those really sound great. You can learn them, and then it sounds like something, that's music, right? Rather than just learning the bits and bytes, but I recommend you do both. And in this case, you can learn rhythms that you can apply to your soloing immediately. And that's magic, because then you can really have fun. And you don't have to learn that many rhythms to have something that's really magical. And in my upcoming program, just a little ad here, 3 seconds, I just added a session, a 1-hour session where we go into 7 core rhythms that I use. 90% of what I play is those 7 different concepts. So these are really valuable. But in this case, I'm just going to give you a taste of what that is, because this rhythm is so fundamental. Okay, let's take this in steps. When you have any jam track, the first thing you could look for, let me see if I can get my iPad working. It's the basic rhythm that the drums are playing. And start playing that. That's a cool exercise. We're not going to stop there. So just listen for the drums here. What are they saying? Do ba, do 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 ba, and bass drum, and then snare drum, right? Do do ba, do do. Can you play that rhythm? We're in G minor here, so we have the G natural minor scale, and we have the G blues scale. Right? And can you play the rhythm just on the G and the 5th fret on the D string? And can you then start combining it with the 3rd fret on the G string and bend that a little bit? Maybe do both the G and the B string, right? And then you can gradually start using more notes and staying with the same rhythm. Stay there because, playing the rhythm that's in the background is like playing the notes of the chord you hear in the background. That's great. It sounds cool, but it isn't. You don't have any tension there. And when you play solos, you need to go back and forth between tension and release, between home and, abroad. So you have that variety in what you play. So let's play something else that complements that or, rhythm in the background. And to do that, I just have a simple rhythm for you here that is simple to explain, but it can really be a challenge to play. But I recommend you start today until you master this rhythm, because this one rhythm, as the other 7 in my program, is absolutely going to change everything. I promise you, just this one rhythm. So, what are we doing? Well, first of all, I'm going to ask you to play, shuffle beat. So we go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Can you do that? You can also strum it, right? Up, down, up, down, up, down, right? So that's the subdivision you're working with here. But then what you're going to do is we have basically 4 between each tap with the foot. So we go down, up, and then we have the foot again. So that's 4 strokes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just get some sound here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the easy thing would be to accent the first if we were to accent any of them. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I recommend that you do is that you take a piece of paper, make 4 boxes times 4. And then you basically 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the first out of the boxes is the foot going down. And then you want to accent the first, but now, in this case, I'm going to play a rhythm for you that's really interesting. Says it feels so good to play that over this beat because you kind of it's inexplainable feeling of and be totally safe and secure in that rhythm, having no problem playing it. That feels like home. And then when you start adding notes to it, it just the rhythm makes everything sound cool. So how do we do that? Well, we accent every 3rd note instead of every 4th. We have 4 strokes, as I said, right? Down, up, down, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we start over. But if you line those up, 4 boxes with the foot in the first, and you have 4 times 4 boxes, then you simply put an X in the first box with the foot. Then you don't put an X in the next 2 strokes and then in the next. And you then skip the next 2 strokes and put an accent on the next. So you get every 3rd of these strokes is an accent. And I'll be sure to include just a little bit, I'll do the work for you. So please go to my website or to guitarmastery.net and download the jam track and this little illustration here. And then start practicing. Simply look at it and say, okay, down, the first downstroke is an accent. So I go, and I put my foot down, and I'm not being condescending. You really need to do this. And the reason why it seems unbelievably hard in the beginning is because you need to spend 10 minutes just with an enormous amount of focus, just getting that rhythm down to the level where you can read your way through these boxes. So foot and downstroke. Okay. And you want to hear the note. Okay. Look at the boxes. Then the next one is just an upstroke, but it's muted. Okay. Then the next one is a downstroke, and it's also muted. And then the next is an upstroke, and that has an accent, so I have to go with an upstroke. And then the next is muted with a foot. That's what happens in the first bar there, or the first from the first foot to the next foot, right? And then you loop that, so you go, right? Up, foot. Okay, foot, right? And foot, up, down, foot. No, not foot and that. It's just upstroke and an accent. Foot, and then it muted. So you really have to take it like reading speed in the beginning. Take the first one, loop it, then add the second, add the third. Really focus on it like it was the assignment of your life, and you would be paid $1 million cool in whatever currency you prefer if you could learn this in 10 minutes, because you can if you use your brain power and your focus and your intensity to do it, right? So please don't shy away from it. The reward of learning this is enormous. That's why it's so hard in the beginning. But once you get a hang of it, you can go. And then suddenly, foot, right? And then you can, and it's like 10, 20, 30 minutes, and you got it. And then you can start practicing. My head is the foot. Right? And then you do it over and over again. You walk around, you go to the store, you shop, you talk to friends as you go, bat, dat, dat, dat. Play the rhythm over and over again. Foot. You walk down the street. That's a pulse, right? Go foot, 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 bat, dat, dat. And if you want to use your hands to do it and you don't have your guitar, you simply just replace up and down strokes with left and right. So you have the down, up, 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 down, up. Right? And you start by, and then you can walk around foot, all day. You can, right? And so you can get in millions of repetitions in basically 1 month and become really good at this. Once you start applying this, it's just a joke how much you can get out of a simple rhythm like this. Because now we're not just playing what the drums are playing. We're creating tension and movement, right? Something that we don't have in modern dance music. When I was young, we had, different beats to dance to, and it was interesting. Then suddenly, in the 90s, it became, right? But sorry, that's just my personal preference there. I'm not too much into that, but it has its purpose, right? So, again, we had the do. That's the basic beat of the drums, right? And you can play that with the that's up to da 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 da. Right? You can play that as well. And then you can alternate and go. Don't go, Claus, this is too hard. Just focus on the rhythm. Get there first. A couple of days by just focusing intensely on it. And then suddenly you can start, this is the rhythm. And this is the... right? And of course, when you have that ability and you just add a couple of other rhythms and you go back and forth between them and gain the ability to put notes to that, then bam, it's wide open. And then the scales, you can get by with the first position blues scale shape and, a mediocre picking technique and, mediocre tools or low-level tools. Not that it's bad or low-level when it comes to quality. But if you master rhythm, if you have just a couple of these core rhythms down and you get to the level where you can combine them even, then it's just amazing what happens. You stop sounding like you're learning. You stop sounding like you are, like you come to the end of the line. And you might have a lot to learn still, but now you can really start having fun with whatever you know, with whatever skills you have, with whatever tools you have. You can sound like a pro for the rest of your life. So, and what's the process again? Well, it's taking these rhythms. You can focus on learning it from the down up, quarter notes, eighth notes, and go tap those basic subdivisions and different challenges there. And then you can take interesting rhythms like this and start deciphering them and then getting them into your body like we're doing in this session, and then just start practicing them like a maniac. Create it like a bad habit, right? Some people go around twitching their eye all day. You should be going around twitching your hands all day. You can't stop tapping constantly, right? That's the way to get to mastery. It becomes such a natural part of you. So that's the way to get to that point. To make it an automated pattern. And you can't get there by tapping rhythms for 5 or 10 minutes a day. You'll stay mediocre and intermediate for the rest of your life. You have to make it an unconscious habit where whenever you have 1 second with idle hands, you're just going to go, all right? That's the way to get to mastery here. And once you have rhythm mastery, you will get the most out of anything you learn on this instrument. So go download the jam track and the little PDF, and then start practicing this right away. This one rhythm will totally revolutionize your playing, I promise you. And if you add a couple of others and you gain the ability to go back and forth between them, then you are home free, I promise you. And then you can just keep adding stuff, keep developing. It's the most amazing thing.